There's one simple routine that quietly separates people who accumulate serious wealth from those who constantly wonder why their bank account never seems to grow. It isn't complicated. It doesn't require a finance degree. And surprisingly, it only happens once every month. Ignore this habit for long enough, and you can slowly drift so far off track financially that recovering becomes incredibly difficult. What's fascinating is that this routine costs absolutely nothing. It takes less than an hour. Yet its impact on long-term wealth is often greater than getting a raise, choosing the perfect investment, or following the latest money trend. The overwhelming majority of people never do it. The small group who consistently follows it often ends up building substantial wealth, while everyone else keeps asking the same question. Where did all my money go? My name is Della, and over the years I've watched countless individuals struggle financially despite earning respectable incomes. Some made $40,000 a year. Others earned over $180,000. Yet the difference between those who eventually achieved financial freedom and those who stayed trapped was rarely income. It almost always came down to one monthly habit. If you've ever felt like you're working hard but not getting ahead, or if you're curious about the surprisingly simple practice that helps ordinary people build extraordinary wealth, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if this video provides value. Now let's talk about what's really going on. Most people manage their finances the same way they manage a junk drawer. Things get tossed in. Things get pulled out. And nobody really knows what's happening inside. Money arrives through paychecks. Bills get paid. Purchases get made. And somewhere in the middle, people develop a vague feeling that they should probably be saving more. The problem? They don't actually know where their money is going. Maybe they glance at their bank balance every few days. Maybe they feel anxious when a large bill shows up. Maybe they open a credit card statement, wince at the total, and immediately close it again. But what they almost never do is sit down and conduct a complete review of their finances. They don't examine where every dollar went. They don't analyze what's working. They don't create a plan for the month ahead. Instead, they simply react to whatever happens. And that's exactly why someone earning $70,000 often feels just as financially stressed as someone earning $35,000. It's also why people bringing home $175,000 can somehow still find themselves living paycheck to paycheck. Income isn't usually the problem. Management is. The real question isn't how much money comes in. The real question is whether you're intentionally directing your money or simply watching it vanish. That's the difference between control and chaos. People who build wealth don't leave their finances on autopilot. Every month they schedule time to evaluate what's happening, make adjustments, and ensure they're moving toward their goals. Everyone else simply hopes things somehow work themselves out. Hope is not a financial strategy. And that's why this monthly habit matters so much. Because without it, even smart people slowly lose control of their financial lives. Imagine driving across the country without ever looking at a map, checking directions, or paying attention to road signs. You might stay on course for a while, but eventually you'll end up somewhere completely different than where you intended to go. Finances work exactly the same way. Without regular course corrections, small mistakes compound. Tiny spending leaks become major problems. Bad habits quietly grow stronger. And opportunities to improve go completely unnoticed. The scary part is that none of this happens overnight. People don't wake up one morning financially ruined. Instead, it happens gradually. Month after month. Year after year. One unnecessary subscription here. One impulse purchase there. One ignored credit card balance. One forgotten financial goal. Each individual decision seems insignificant. But together, they create a future that looks nothing like the one people imagined. That's why the monthly review is so powerful. It forces you to stop drifting. It forces you to pay attention. It forces you to confront reality instead of assumptions. And reality is where wealth is built. Most people believe financial success comes from earning more money. Certainly, earning more helps. But income alone doesn't create wealth. If it did, every high-income professional would automatically be rich. Clearly that's not what happens. Financial success comes from consistently making better decisions than the average person. And better decisions require better information. You cannot improve what you refuse to measure. You cannot fix problems you never identify. And you cannot build wealth while remaining unaware of what your money is actually doing. This is why one dedicated financial review every month can have such an enormous impact. It provides clarity. It exposes waste. It reveals opportunities. And most importantly, it keeps you actively engaged with the single resource that affects almost every area of your life. Your money. In the next part, I'll show you exactly what happens during this monthly financial review, how to calculate the one number that tells you whether you're actually making progress, and why most people are shocked the first time they see their complete financial picture. So what does this monthly financial review actually look like? The process is far simpler than most people expect. Yet it's also the step most people avoid because they'd rather not confront the truth about their finances. That's a mistake. Because the truth, whether it's good or bad, is always better than operating in the dark. The first thing you need to do is schedule it. Not whenever you happen to remember. Not only when you're worried about money. And definitely not when you feel motivated. Pick a specific day each month and make it non-negotiable. For example, the first Saturday of every month. Or the last Sunday evening. It doesn't matter which day you choose. What matters is consistency. Every single month, without exception, you set aside roughly 30 to 60 minutes for a complete financial check-in. Now here's the first step. Gather every financial account you have. And I mean every account. Your checking account. Your savings account. Credit cards. Investment accounts. Retirement funds. Loan balances. Everything. Most people never see their entire financial life in one place. They know bits and pieces. They know approximately how much cash they have. They know they owe something on a credit card. They know there's money sitting inside a retirement account somewhere. But they've never put all the pieces together. As a result, they're making financial decisions while only seeing part of the picture. Imagine trying to complete a puzzle while half the pieces remain hidden. That's how most people manage money. During your monthly review, write down every balance. Let's say your checking account contains $2,800. Your savings account has $9,500. One credit card carries a balance of $3,600. Another has $2,100. You still owe $21,000 on student loans. Your retirement account holds $52,000. And your brokerage account contains $14,000. Whatever your actual numbers are, write them down exactly as they are. No guessing. No rounding. No estimating. Just facts. Once everything is listed, calculate a single number. The most important financial score you'll ever track. Your net worth. The calculation is incredibly simple. Add together everything you own. Then subtract everything you owe. What's left is your net worth. That's it. One number. But that one number tells an incredibly important story. Because unlike your income, your net worth shows whether you're actually getting wealthier. Someone earning $250,000 a year can have a negative net worth. Meanwhile, someone earning $65,000 may quietly build a positive and growing net worth every year. Income tells you how much money flows through your life. Net worth tells you how much wealth stays behind. And that's the number that matters. Think of net worth as the scoreboard for your financial life. In sports, nobody wins because they feel like they're ahead. They win because the scoreboard says they're ahead. Money works exactly the same way. Unfortunately, most people rely entirely on feelings. They feel successful after receiving a bonus. They feel stressed after an expensive month. They feel optimistic when markets rise. They feel discouraged when unexpected bills appear. But feelings can be misleading. Facts cannot. Your monthly net worth calculation eliminates the guesswork. If your net worth increased, you're generally moving in the right direction. If it decreased, something deserves attention. Simple. Without tracking this number, you can spend years believing you're making progress while quietly moving backward. And that happens far more often than people realize. After calculating your net worth, it's time for the next step. Review every transaction from the previous month. This is where many people immediately lose interest. Because it sounds boring. And honestly, it's not the most exciting activity in the world. But it's also where some of the most valuable financial discoveries happen. Open your bank statements. Open your credit card statements. And go through them carefully. Line by line. You're not doing this to shame yourself. You're not doing this to feel guilty. You're simply gathering information. Think of yourself as an investigator. You're looking for patterns. Nothing more. Maybe you spent $140 eating at restaurants. Perhaps you spent $85 at coffee shops. Maybe groceries totaled $320. Transportation cost $210. Streaming subscriptions added up to $55. Entertainment came to $410. Whatever the numbers are, organize them into categories. Food, housing, transportation, utilities, shopping, entertainment, health, travel. Any categories that make sense for your situation. The entire process usually takes less than half an hour when done consistently every month. That's another reason monthly reviews matter. A small monthly review is easy. Trying to reconstruct an entire year of spending is exhausting. Which is why most people never bother. But when you review spending every month, something interesting starts happening. Patterns become visible. Patterns you never noticed before. For example, you might discover you're spending $450 every month on takeout meals. Not because you're irresponsible, but because the spending happened in small pieces. A $15 lunch here. A $25 dinner there. A few delivery orders on busy evenings. Individually they seem harmless. Together they become thousands of dollars per year. Or maybe you realize you're paying for 4 subscription services while regularly using only one. Maybe you notice frequent online purchases that felt important at the time but now seem completely forgettable. These discoveries aren't meant to make you feel bad. They're meant to give you awareness. Because awareness creates choice. And choice creates control. Let's say you discover you're spending $450 every month dining out. That's $5,400 per year. Now you can ask a powerful question. Is this worth $5,400 annually to me? Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe dining out genuinely improves your quality of life. Great. Continue doing it. But at least now you're making an informed decision. Before the review, you weren't choosing. You were drifting. That's the difference. Wealthy people consciously direct their money. Everyone else simply reacts to whatever happens. The monthly review shines a spotlight on those hidden financial habits. It reveals exactly where your money is going. Not where you think it's going. Not where you hope it's going. Where it's actually going. And that distinction changes everything. Because once you clearly see the reality of your spending, you finally have the power to improve it. And that's where the next stage of the monthly review becomes incredibly important. Once you've finished reviewing your accounts and analyzing where your money went, it's time for the next stage of the monthly review. This is where you compare reality against your plan. In other words, you compare your actual spending to your budget. And yes, you need a budget. But probably not the kind you're imagining. A budget isn't supposed to feel like punishment. It isn't a system designed to eliminate fun from your life. It's simply a plan for where you want your money to go before it disappears on things that don't actually matter to you. Think of it as giving your dollars a job. Nothing more. Let's say you plan to spend about $350 on restaurants this month. But after reviewing your transactions, you discover the real number was $470. That's not a failure. It's information. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness. Now you have a choice. You can either adjust your future spending to better match your budget, or you can adjust the budget to reflect reality. What you don't want is pretending you're spending $350 when you're actually spending $470 month after month, because that's how financial plans slowly fall apart. Most people never discover these gaps because they never review the numbers. They continue operating under assumptions. And assumptions are expensive. Here's one of the biggest differences between people who build wealth and people who constantly struggle financially. Successful people treat their budget like a living system. Everyone else treats it like a document they created once and forgot about. A budget should evolve. Life changes. Expenses change. Goals change. Your plan should change too. Maybe fuel prices increased this month and transportation costs were higher than expected. That's okay. Adjust the budget. Maybe you spent less on entertainment because work kept you busy. Great. Redirect the extra money towards savings or investments. Maybe an unexpected expense appeared and disrupted your plan. That's normal. Update the numbers and move forward. The monthly review is where these adjustments happen. Instead of pretending everything went according to plan, you deal with reality. And reality is where progress is made. Each month, you look backward to understand what happened. Then you look forward and decide what needs to happen next. That's how a budget remains useful. Otherwise, it becomes nothing more than a fantasy document disconnected from your actual life. Now we reach the part that creates the biggest long-term impact. After reviewing your spending and updating your budget, you evaluate your savings rate. This is where wealth is truly built. Every month, ask yourself one simple question. Can I save slightly more than I did last month? Notice the word slightly. Not dramatically. Not aggressively. Not unrealistically. Slightly. Most people fail financially because they try to make huge changes overnight. They go from saving nothing to trying to save 30% of their income. It feels painful. It feels restrictive. And eventually they quit. Small increases are different. They're sustainable. Let's imagine you're currently saving 7% of your income. That's already better than many people. But during your review, you notice you spent less than expected in several categories. Instead of allowing that extra money to disappear into random spending next month, you increase your automatic savings contribution to 8%. That's it. Just 1 percentage point. Most people would barely notice the difference. Yet over time, these tiny adjustments become incredibly powerful. 1% doesn't sound exciting. But compound enough small improvements together and the results become extraordinary. Think about it. If you increase your savings rate by just 1% every few months, your financial situation can look completely different within a few years. You aren't relying on motivation. You aren't relying on discipline. You're simply making gradual improvements whenever your monthly review reveals an opportunity. This is how wealth is built quietly. Not through dramatic financial transformations. Not through lottery tickets. Not through miracle investments. Through small improvements repeated consistently. And this only happens when you're regularly reviewing your finances. Without the monthly review, people tend to save whatever happens to be left over. With the monthly review, savings become intentional. And intentional savings create financial freedom. To understand how powerful this process becomes, let's compare two people. Meet Brandon and Emily. Both are 29 years old. Both earn approximately $65,000 per year. Both start the year saving 6% of their income. On paper, they're identical. But their habits are completely different. Brandon schedules a monthly financial review every single month. Emily doesn't. She thinks about money occasionally, usually when bills arrive or something stressful happens, but she never performs a structured review. In January, both are saving around $325 per month. Then February arrives. During his review, Brandon notices he's paying nearly $170 every month for memberships and subscriptions he barely uses. He cancels several of them. The extra money allows him to increase his savings rate from 6% to 7%. Emily continues paying for all of her subscriptions because she has no idea how much they're costing her. A few months later, both receive a raise of roughly 4%. When Brandon performs his monthly review, he immediately directs part of the increase towards savings. His savings rate jumps to 9%. Emily receives the same raise. But because she never reviews her finances, the additional income quietly disappears into lifestyle upgrades. Her savings rate remains unchanged. Then summer arrives. During another review, Brandon notices he's spending roughly $350 every month ordering delivery food. He decides that's more than he wants to spend. He begins preparing meals more often and redirects part of that money toward investments. His savings rate climbs to 11%. Emily is still ordering food regularly. Not because she's irresponsible. Simply because she never examined the numbers. She doesn't realize how much those purchases are adding up. By the end of the year, Brandon is saving roughly 13% of his income. Emily remains at 6%. Same salary. Same starting point. Completely different outcome. Over 1 year alone, Brandon accumulates thousands of additional dollars. Not because he worked harder. Not because he earned more. Because he paid attention. And the real magic happens over time. Year after year, Brandon continues finding small opportunities. A little less waste here. A slightly higher savings rate there. Small improvements repeated dozens of times. Meanwhile, Emily continues operating on autopilot. Her spending gradually increases. Her savings remain stagnant. And the gap between them grows larger every year. After 5 years, the difference becomes dramatic. Not because of one major decision, but because of hundreds of small decisions made during monthly reviews. That's the hidden power of this habit. Each review seems insignificant, but together they create a compounding effect that transforms your financial future. And that's only part of the story. But the monthly review isn't only about tracking accounts, adjusting budgets, and increasing your savings rate. There's another benefit that might be even more valuable. Every month, you reconnect with your financial goals. And that's something most people rarely do. At the beginning of a year, many people set ambitious money goals. Maybe they want to save $18,000. Maybe they want to eliminate debt. Maybe they want to reach a 6-figure investment portfolio. Maybe they want to buy a home. The goal gets written down. They feel motivated. Then life happens. Weeks turn into months. The goal slowly fades into the background. And before they know it, the year is almost over. The monthly review prevents that from happening. Every single month, you check your progress. You compare where you are against where you planned to be. Let's say your goal is to save $18,000 this year. During your monthly review, you realize you're currently on pace to save only $14,000. That's valuable information. Not because it feels good. Because it gives you time to respond. Maybe you need to save an additional $300 per month. Maybe you need to cut a few expenses. Maybe you need to pick up extra income through freelance work or a side project. Whatever the solution is, you still have time to implement it. Without a monthly review, you don't discover the problem until December. And by then it's too late. The year is already gone. This is one of the biggest advantages of reviewing your finances consistently. You stop reacting after problems occur. Instead, you begin correcting your course while there's still time. You become proactive instead of reactive. That's how successful people manage nearly every important area of life. And money should be no different. Every monthly review becomes an opportunity to ask, am I moving closer to my goals or further away from them? If you're ahead, fantastic. Keep going. If you're behind, adjust. Simple, but incredibly powerful. Now let's talk about the final step of the monthly review. The step almost nobody does. And yet it's often the step that creates the biggest long-term transformation. Spend 5 minutes looking into your financial future. Not through wishful thinking. Not through magical manifestation. Not through unrealistic fantasies. Through math. Through facts. Through projections. Look at your current net worth. Look at your current savings rate. Look at your investment contributions. Then ask yourself a simple question. If I continue doing exactly what I'm doing right now, where will I be 5 years from today? Run the numbers. Estimate the outcome. And then be honest with yourself. Does that future excite you? Or does it worry you? If the answer excites you, that's wonderful. It means your current actions are aligned with the future you want. Keep going. But if the answer makes you uncomfortable, that's important too. Because discomfort creates awareness. And awareness creates change. Most people never perform this exercise. They simply assume everything will somehow work out. They assume future success will magically appear. They assume they'll save more later. Invest more later. Get serious later. But later has a funny way of never arriving. Years pass. Then decades pass. And suddenly they're wondering why their financial reality doesn't match the future they imagined. The monthly review eliminates this illusion. Every month, you're forced to confront your trajectory. The numbers don't lie. The direction becomes obvious. And once you see that direction clearly, ignoring it becomes much harder. That's why this habit is so effective. It keeps you awake. It keeps you aware. It keeps you engaged with your future. Now here's the hard truth. If you're not reviewing your finances every month, you're almost certainly falling behind. It doesn't matter if you're earning a good salary. It doesn't matter if you occasionally invest. It doesn't matter if you have a budget sitting somewhere in a notebook. Without regular reviews, you're allowing your finances to drift. Meanwhile, people who perform monthly reviews are constantly improving. They're finding spending leaks. They're increasing savings rates. They're identifying opportunities. They're correcting mistakes. They're making hundreds of small decisions that gradually strengthen their financial position. At first, the difference seems tiny. Maybe it's only a few $100s. Maybe it's a slight improvement in saving. Maybe it's one unnecessary expense eliminated. Nothing dramatic. Nothing exciting. But wealth isn't usually built through dramatic events. It's built through consistency. And consistency compounds. After 5 years, the gap becomes significant. After 10 years, it becomes massive. After 20 years, the difference can completely alter a person's life. One individual has steadily built wealth through deliberate decisions and continual adjustments. The other has spent years losing money through small leaks that never received attention. And perhaps the most frustrating part? This entire process only requires about 30 to 60 minutes each month. That's all. Think about that. Many people spend multiple hours every day scrolling social media. They spend countless hours watching random videos. They spend hours consuming entertainment. Yet they convince themselves they don't have time to spend 30 minutes reviewing the thing that influences nearly every aspect of their future. Their stress levels. Their freedom. Their retirement. Their opportunities. their quality of life. That's not a time problem. That's a priority problem. And unfortunately, it's one of the reasons so many hardworking people remain financially stuck. So now you have a choice. You can continue doing what most people do. Ignore the numbers. Hope things improve. Wonder where your money went. Feel stressed without understanding why. Assume everything will somehow work itself out. And if you follow that path, there's a very good chance your financial situation 5 or 10 years from now won't look dramatically different than it does today. Possibly worse. Because inflation, lifestyle inflation, and years of unnoticed spending habits have a way of quietly eroding progress. Or you can make a different decision. You can start today. Not next month. Not after your next paycheck. Not after the holidays. Today. Open your calendar. Choose a recurring date. Maybe the first Saturday of every month. Maybe the first Sunday evening. Whatever works for your schedule. Then protect that appointment like it's one of the most important meetings you'll ever attend. Because it is. During that meeting, review every account. Calculate your net worth. Analyze your spending. Adjust your budget. Increase your savings rate whenever possible. Track your goals. Project your future. And repeat the process every single month. No exceptions. No excuses. No skipped months. Do that for 1 year and you'll be amazed at the amount of clarity you've gained. Do it for 5 years and your finances may look completely different from the people around you. Do it for 10 years and many people will assume you discovered some secret strategy. But there won't be a secret. No special investment. No lucky break. No hidden shortcut. Just decades of small, intelligent decisions made consistently. That's the real secret. 30 to 60 minutes per month. 12 reviews per year. A lifetime of better financial choices. That's how wealth is built. Not all at once. 1 month at a time. And the sooner you begin, the bigger the advantage becomes. Because every month you delay is another month you lose. Start now. Stay consistent.